It's super interesting. So like looking especially like with regards to the gospels, like how accurate is the dating? Like when would you date these gospels? And like when they're written, and like how accurate do you think that would be?
Well, you know, Zach, when we talk about dating, we're talking about two things really. We're talking about dating the artifacts themselves, and then we're talking about dating when we think the person wrote the text originally, and we don't have the original document. If we had the autograph, that would sure help.
Mhm.
But carbon 14 always gives you a plus or minus about 50 years. And so that doesn't help a whole lot. So dating the artifacts, yeah, that's why we can say we have a few fragments of the New Testament Gospels that date to the second century.
Mhm.
One fragment, P52, it's just a couple of verses of John chapter 18, could date to the first half of the second century.
Mhm.
So in other words, you know, the 120s to 140s or 50s, somewhere in there, maybe. Then we have a few other fragments, Matthew and one or two other fragments, maybe John, that date to the end of the second century. But so you have to get into the third century before you have big chunks of text and all of the text. So that's one kind of way of dating. But the other word, you know, the other idea of dating is, well, when did these guys write these things down? There are
Yeah.
various ways of evaluating it, and scholars do disagree. I tend to tilt toward early. I didn't at the beginning of my career, but in more recent years, I tilt earlier. So I think all three synoptic gospels were written before the Jewish War started in 66. About John, I'm not sure. John, I think I'm going with the traditional date of the 90s. That's what the church fathers always said. But I don't know. John could be earlier. John could be 60s also. I just don't know. My mind is open on that. But the Gospel of Thomas, you know, I've argued in my book, two chapters in the book. Thomas can't be dated any earlier than 180, so it's late second century. Gospel of Peter should not be dated any earlier than 140 or 150, and most of the other writings are later still.